I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. All right, now we got a really explosive clip coming up, number 3 from last night. This thing jumped off. I mean, the whole place blew up. By the way, they were at the Ronald Reagan Library out there in Simi Valley, California last night. It's a beautiful place. Ronald Reagan got this great big old plane out there and a helicopter that he flew on. And they were out there last night in that place. But this business about slavery blew up last night. Ms. Angela, run that clip.
You have said slaves develop skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. But many are still hurt. For descendants of slaves, this is personal. What is your message to them?
So first of all, that's a hoax that was perpetrated by Kamala Harris. We are not going to be doing that. Second of all, that was written by descendants of slaves. These are great Black history scholars, so we need to stop playing these games. Here's the deal. Our country's education system is in decline because it's focused on indoctrination, denying parents' rights. Florida represents the revival of American education. We're ranked #1 in the nation in education by U.S. News and World Report. My wife and I, we have a 6, 5, and 3-year-old. This is personal to us. We didn't just talk about universal school choice, we enacted universal school choice. We didn't just talk about Parents' Bill of Rights, we enacted the Parents' Bill of Rights. We eliminated critical race theory, and we now have American civics and the Constitution in our schools in a really big way, just like President Reagan asked for in his farewell address back in 1989. Florida is showing how it's done. We're standing with parents, and our kids are benefiting.
Senator Scott, you oppose to these new standards. What is your message for Governor DeSantis?
There is not a redeeming quality in slavery. He and Kamala should have just taken the one sentence out. America has suffered because of slavery, but we've overcome that. We are the greatest nation on earth because we faced our demons in the mirror and made a decision.
Open my mic. I mean, first of all, Ron DeSantis also, he has a squeaky kind of a voice, sort of high-pitched voice that annoys me as well. So I'm annoyed by some of these voices. And then, of course, you got this boy, Tim Scott. He's just a funny, I don't have anything against the guy, but he's funny looking, you know. I mean, what is it with him? But this business that there is no redeeming quality in slavery, you know, I mean, okay. So let's go back to the first known slavery event in terms of modern understanding, not necessarily modern time, but which was the slavery of the Jews in Egypt. They were there for 400 years. Now, they were sent there by God. I don't know if Ron DeSantis or Tim Scott or Camelback Ain't Black Harris or anybody else is wiser than God. But if you don't mind me, I mean, y'all go ahead, have your opinions, you know, have your point of view, talk about how awful slavery was and one thing after the other. Go ahead and do that. Knock yourself out, man. What I'm trying to do is trying to figure out, well, who am I going to side with, Tim Scott or with God? And God told Abraham, your children going to be slaves for 400 years down there in Egypt. And what the Bible tells me, one of the greatest and holiest days in holiness is the Passover that got started in slavery. It happened on the night that the Passover angels, the death angels rather, passed over the house of the Jews in Egypt while they were yet slaves in Egypt. I mean, to say there's no redeeming quality, and the Passover may not necessarily be a redeeming quality, but had they not been there in Egypt, they wouldn't have the Passover. And then the Lord told them to come out with jewels, and God brought them out with an outstretched hand. So, I mean, I understand all y'all people out there and, you know, trying to defend black people. The other thing is that black people, they're Hamites, and I say this with all the love I can possibly find anywhere at any time. But you know the reason why people won't say there was redeeming qualities, why public officials and others will not say that people did learn trades as blacksmith or as carpenters or as bankers or as cooks while they were slaves, and then they parlayed those skills that they learned as slaves rather than spear chuckers in Africa to help build themselves a great society, own land, own banks and insurance company after they came out of slavery. You know why they won't say that? Because black people are still so weak, they're so down. It's like, to speak the truth about black people is like picking on a little toddler who can't yet talk. Black people are in the toddler status when the rest of the world is running around with AI understanding. And that's why they say, well, I don't know, but how awful slavery was. No, they're good things. And slavery itself, and the Jews was prophesied by Almighty God that Jews going to be there for 400 years. I'm just sorry, Tim Scott. I'm sorry, homie, but I'm going with the Bible. And slavery of black people in here in America was prophesied by Almighty God through his servant and prophet Noah, the preacher of righteousness, that said Canaan shall serve both Shem and Japheth. I'm sorry, Tim Scott, Kamala Harris, and all the rest of these people who see black people as so feeble, so weak, so immature. You got to defend them even against stuff that's glaringly spotlight, North Star truth. You still got to defend them because anything you say against them as true will hurt them. And black people have been hurt for so long. No, there are redeeming qualities. And many black people, now tell this, many black men became slave owners themselves, and they learned from the white man how to be a slave owner. Now, I'm not saying that's a redeeming quality. I'm just saying y'all are a bunch of phonies and a bunch of hypocrites. And the thing of it is this, is that by you defending black people like they're so weak, we got to protect them. We can't say that they learned how to be a blacksmith. We can't say that that was a good thing, even though it happened in slavery. We can't say that. Listen. You're hurting people. Speak the truth. It's the truth, not civil rights, not Dr. King and none of the rest of y'all gonna ever set black people free. Gotta speak the truth. That's what you got. Listen, let me tell you something. I learned how to be a preacher in prison. Is there a redeeming quality about going? Y'all say you're gonna send it to a correctional facility, you put people in prison, which is worse than slavery, to correct people. Obviously, you believe that there's a redeeming quality to going to a correctional institution for 10 years and you come out of there with a trade or with a degree or with some understanding where you're not crazy. There's redeeming qualities even in going to prison. With your funny looking head, look at you. What is it? You have to shave that head every day? No, listen. You know, the thing, here's the deal. Everybody knows that there's redeeming quality. I mean, you can learn something good from, even Jesus said, and Paul did too, if you got a boss and he's a mean boss and he treats you bad, go ahead and do his work, do what he says to do. You know, these people, the Bible is so against y'all that it ain't even funny. But here's the deal. Everybody realize that black people are so weak. They are so immature. You can't tell them. You can't say, because it's like accusing a little baby for not knowing how to drive a car. We all know how to drive a car. We know how to get something good. We know that we sing all our songs. All our entertainers sing their song. You know, in everybody's life, there's going to be a little rain, and out of the rain, there's going to be a little pain. But learn from your mistakes. Everybody says that all the philosophers, all the poets talk about how our strength is we're made stronger through our problems. Everybody says that problems and experiences the best. Teach all the philosophers, all the poets, all the scholars, until it comes to black people. Then black people can't profit from their problem. Black people can't profit from their experience. Black people can't profit from their experience. It's sick. And the sickness is on both sides is that these people are such hypocrites. Tell black people the truth. Tell them the truth. Yeah, I learned how to be a horse. I learned how to, learn how to open up my horseshoe business. I learned how to farm. I learned how to be a cook, or all that. I learned that in slavery. Had I stayed in Africa, I wouldn't have learned any of it. And now I'm running a business 5 years after slavery. And many of the slaves became politicians. It is such a farce. It's my job to clear all this up. It is so sickening to watch the way black people are patronized and and looked at in such a way is that you can't tell them. They're not they're not ready to hear the truth about themselves. Listen, there can be redeeming qualities in some of the worst things. I mean, even some of the awful things that many of us who call we are Christians, and the awful things that we have done in our lives. And any Christian who is a Christian with a testimony, word for testimony, say, I used to be this, but I ain't what I used to be. And I've learned out of my pain. I've learned out of my sin. I've learned how to be better. The same thing with slavery. What a bunch of hypocrites. God ought to put anyway, all right.